Idea. Stream this onto the GCS Twitch.
That's what Sebastian did last year with the Unity Studio. I watched a little bit of it and I decided I was not interested.
I mean, that's what Tom Corbett did with his class, that's why. Hello. Please write your name, your Andrew, on the board.
I'll take attendance while you do your lecture.
All right. How are you, Nancy? That's good. Which class? Which class?
I dropped my design class. Really boring.
Okay. Thank you for your support, but it almost makes me feel bad.
Wait, no, I didn't drop this class. I dropped a different class.
I know, but never mind, whatever.
Design class?
Yeah.
Communication? Which class? I don't know. Design class.
Design class.
Generic design.
Okay, shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do that.
Are you ready?
About 5 minutes in. I think you should start with the schedule.
Okay.
Okay. Alright.
Hello. Alright. Guys, can I have your attention, please? Like, we appreciate you guys socializing with each other, but we do kind of have to get started because we are a class. I'm going to, in case you forgot, I am Joyce. This is Matthew. Feel free to introduce yourself to your neighbors later. I'm going to go over how the schedule works again, because how many people were not here last class when we went over the schedule? Yeah, a fair amount. Okay, so how this class works is that we have an alternating schedule because we're covering 2 tracks. You know, there is the art track taught by me, and there is the programming track taught by Matthew, each with its own concentration and non-overlapping content with another. And how this is going to work is that we're going to have alternating lectures, such that today this is the first, actually the only lecture that is mandatory for everyone, which covers the basics of Unreal Engine. And that is today, which all of you are here and you're, attending the course. That's great. Starting from next week, we're going to split off into the 2 tracks. Again, feel free to drop by the other one just to check out what's going on for the first few weeks before you decide on which one you want to settle on and continue for the rest of the course. We welcome that. But next week is the first official art lecture, which is by me. And how that is going to work is that everyone will still meet here inside of this room. And how that's going to work, I'm just going to stay here and give the regular lecture with what's going to happen today or last time. And then for people who are just not interested in art at all and come here to do programming, you guys will first meet here, and then you'll leave with Matthew to probably a neighboring room where you guys can do more exercises on Unreal Engine 4 or just chat about it in general. It would be kind of like a hangout and / working time together. For those who are interested in looking at our lecture, obviously stay here. I think I repeated that too many times, but that's how it's going to work from today onwards. Starting the next class will be programming, so we'll start again. Everyone will meet here. Those who are interested in programming stays in this room, listen to the lecture. For those who are not, come with me and we'll go to some other room and do art stuff, I guess, or socialize. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For the first few lectures, if you're still undecided on which track you want to be in, come sit through them. There's the other work session. It's not mandatory. We'll not be covering any content that will, we're not testing you, but it's not mandatory for the class. It's usually just something cool that we like to teach, or time for questions and answers. So yeah, that's how it's going to work. Are there any questions? If not, I'll pass it on to Matthew for today's lecture.
Thank you, Joyce. Hello. Welcome to the Unreal Engine tutorial for 98-166, Introduction to Practical Game Development, otherwise known as Food Fight. So, I think for today, we're going to start with talking about source control, because that is a very, very important thing in our line of work. So, it's amazing, for those of you that don't know about it. It's a type of software that allows you to go back to earlier stages of your work if you have messed up. It's super easy, it's very nice to use, and it's easy to use once you get the hang of it when you're working on a team, and it's easy to use if you have multiple computers. So like, an example, say you're working on one computer in your dorm, or in your home, and then you gotta go to class, and you're working on this project in class. You can push, which is the process of telling the source control, hey, this is the work that I've done. And now you move it into the cloud, and then this is the work that you have on the cloud. And then once you're in class, you can pull, and now you have the work that you did at home from the convenience of your laptop, and you don't have to worry about all the copying and pasting and stuff like that. There is a caveat, though, I think, when working on teams, is that it's called merge conflicts. These suck. If you guys have had them in the past, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you don't know yet. Hopefully, when it happens to you, it won't be that bad. But these basically mean that when two people have pushed work that are in the same levels or same files, sometimes some work is going to get overridden. Sometimes your work is being overridden that you have worked on all night. So it's not very pleasant when, a day's worth of work is gone, and now you have to go in there with a stick and sift through the ashes and figure out what's yours and what's not, what you did and what you didn't, and get it all to work. So that's source control. Any questions on this rather broad explanation? Okay. I sent out an email to all of you guys that registered prior to this class, telling you guys to download it. For those of you that are not, who are new to this class or have been recently registered to it, let me, Joyce, can you send out an email again, copying and pasting what I sent out in the Discord a little while ago with all the links to download?
Do you want me to send out to the mailing list?
Yeah, you could, in S3, you could just tick all the boxes and send an email to everyone.
I will try.
Yeah, send it to everyone registered and everyone on the wait list. Thank you. So yeah, Joyce is going to send that out to all of you guys again if you haven't had downloaded it yet. For those of you who are here and on the Discord, it is in the announcements tab, and it's not that far up from, I guess, the previous announcement. So go check that out and go download the stuff if you haven't. Okay. Any questions as to where you can get it? Okay. So what is Unreal Engine? I'm glad you asked, because this is an Unreal Engine class / 3D modeling class. So it's a game engine. What a surprise. And it could be used to create games, virtual reality experience. Some of you guys are architects or design students, so it can be used to create ArcViz or any sort of simulation stuff as well. So yeah, here's actually a picture of researchers at CMU. This is in Null Simon. They're using they're doing a driving simulation in VR in Unreal Engine. So, why would you want to learn Unreal? I think that it's really easy to do art and then make your art interactive. For if you're an artist, that's how I started out with. I started making my 3D models, and I put them into Unreal as a place to look at them and like, ooh, this building is pretty kind of thing. And then I made like people walk around it. So, and then I made like it to be possible to go inside these buildings. So it was really easy for me to, someone who knew no programming, but knew some 3D modeling to like make things work. And then as I got into programming and making my first game, I realized that it was very easy and fast for me to like rapidly iterate over things due to blueprints, and I could easily test things. Like if something didn't work, I could like move it aside, make a new thing, and then see if it worked. On the job position, Unreal programmers are in demand, allegedly, because people have been telling me this. A lot of people. And the same people have been claiming that people who know Unity and Unreal Engine is a pretty overpowered thing, because there's a lot of people who know Unity, but not as much people who know Unreal Engine. But Unreal Engine can be used in some specialized instances, like at the, I said robotics clubs, I meant robotics research, but whatever. Several robotics research labs here at CMU use Unreal Engine for their simulations work. Like that lab I had a picture of earlier. There's another lab that are working on making some rover that goes on the moon. They simulate that rover in Unreal Engine. And then, of course, you should learn Unreal Engine because Unreal Engine 5 is coming out, and it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. You got lifelike light renderings, and you've got amazing graphical capabilities, better than anything we got at the moment. Basically, you can have realistic and lifelike models, which currently you cannot do due to, graphics hardware constraints, but they're going to do it through software. And then, Unity, kind of heresy. So, damn it. So, now you got to launch it. So let me go over that. Actually, give me 1 second. Okay, so let's launch the engine. How many of you guys have Unreal Engine installed? Okay. For those of you who do not, can you please install it if you would like to follow along? Okay. So let's start.
Should I go get my laptop?
Do you want to follow along?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew, it's going to take them a while to install the Unreal install.
Oh, true. That case, then I'll wait until she comes back, and then we'll start with the demo. The demo is it should be, most of you guys should be able to have it mostly installed, if not entirely installed by the time. They should be able to have most of it installed soon. On-campus internet is pretty fast.
It's like 40-ish gigabytes.
Oh. Maybe not.
Okay, maybe how about this? If you have it installed, great. If you're planning to install it right now and your laptop haven't have enough space for it, that's perfect. Start the download. I think we have all the links ready in the email I just sent out, or the other one that we'll be sending out. If you don't, if you can't do it right now, that's fine. Watch the demo. I think we'll have some time left after class, which you can either install it, come to us for help, etc.
Yeah.
See the raise hand.
Hello.
Which version?
420 what? You want a creator's license, because creators is free.
Yeah, it's the free one.
Yeah, you want the free one. Just use the creators for now, unless you're going to be making. You can, I guess, switch licenses when you're going to be doing this for money. Yes.
I meant although when I launched
Oh, you might want Xcode. Then you might need to install Xcode. Let's deal with this afterwards. You can't follow along. Try installing Xcode then. Do you have Xcode?
Oh yeah, Mac users need to install Xcode.
Yeah.
so I have to like
And you can get any version, I think. I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, unless you're. Yeah, it doesn't matter unless you're compiling, but like that's not a problem now. Yeah, if you're a Mac, get an Xcode.
alright.
Yeah.
Can you just take a poll of people who wants to install it now?
Yeah, actually, how many of you want to install it now?
How many of you want to install it later? Okay. How many of you already have it?
Most.
Please send them out.
Yeah.
I think we can do it like after class if we
All right.
try installing it now if you want to. If you run into difficulties, we'll be here to resolve it.
Yeah. Please install like 4.26.2. It's not the latest version, but it's the version that will be compatible with Unreal 5 if you want to try it out afterwards. And it's the version that Food Fight is running on. So yeah, it's 4.26.2. When you, on the launcher, it looks like this. Unreal Engine Library. So when you, it's going to ask you like 4.26.2, it's going to ask you for 4.27 here. You want to remove this and click the plus button, and it's going to say 4.26.2 over here. Okay, I'm going to give it another minute and then we could start. Yes?
Launch in that screen, I have prerequisites.
Prerequisites. I think
The launch button under both links.
I think the first time you install it, it has to do some things. Yeah.
Mine's telling me I can't find Xcode installed.
Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to install Xcode. It's basically like, it comes with a bunch of stuff that Unreal Engine needs to do to install. And it's like VS Code. It's like VS Code, but for Macs. Okay. Let's start. Now, this is all being recorded, so if you can't follow along, it's okay. We'll put up a recording of this after class. All right. So first things first, you're going to launch. You're going to click the launch button, and it will eventually launch. It can take somewhere between less than a minute. Okay. For the first time, it could take a little bit more. So if this is your first time opening up Unreal Engine, you're not going to have any recent projects because you haven't had any projects. But you're going to see games, all games in all these categories below. Basically, these are templates which you could do stuff off of in Unreal Engine. So, for example, you go into architecture and then like, oh, I want to do ArcViz, or I want to do something with HoloLens, and so on. But we're not interested in that at the moment. You can go into that later, because this is some really cool stuff, and it's Unreal Engine is really powerful, and it's really interesting all the things that they have built it to do. So we're going to go into games, because that's kind of what we're interested in as a class. And we're going to select a template. There's like these many templates. And you're going to you have things like first person templates, templates where you're in a flying vehicle, you know, your classic rolling ball into like physics cubes. The third person, you know, I'm interested in the virtual reality template, you know, and then you have some car stuff and some AR stuff. We're going to go with the first person template. Then you're going to click next. So then you see this thing called project settings. What is project settings? This particular section here allows you to customize your project for Unreal Engine. So the first one is blueprints. So by default, like your Unreal Engine projects are blueprints only, and they don't have any C++ in them. Because in Unreal Engine, you could either use blueprints or C++. We're going to be teaching blueprints out of simplicity, but everything you learn in blueprints can be directly applied into C++ once you get the, you know, learning the language component out of the way. But the functions that you use in blueprints work exactly the same way as they work in C++. So we're going to go with blueprints. For C++, you need Visual Studio installed and all that stuff. And it adds some more complicated things to your project, but it allows you to do a lot more things that you can't do with blueprints. So we're going to go for scalable 2D or 3D, because I'm running this on a laptop. All you guys are running this on a laptop. My laptop sucks. Some of your laptops are pretty good. I see that gaming laptop there. Yeah. So we're going to do scalable 2D or 3D. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have an RTX graphics card in my laptop. So I'm not going to enable the ray tracing. We're going to choose desktop console for now, because this is operating on a desktop and we want to like make it run on desktop for now. But even if you choose mobile or tablet, all it does is like change the graphical settings to be more compliant to your phones, basically. Because remember, your phones run off of a slightly different operating system off of what your computers have. So they're going to have different requirements than what your computers have. So desktop console. And we're not going to have any starter content for this. Yeah. And then you could select a location for your project to be stored at. I personally like to have all my stuff labeled under a folder called work or projects or something. I just like to be organized, because when I was in high school, my folders were everywhere and I couldn't find anything and it sucked. So I'm going to have a folder I call, in here, and I like to put underscores below like folders that I like to access a lot. So I'm going to put in underscore FF, F for fall, 21 for the year. But you could name it whatever you want. It's your computer, it's your project. You know, whatever makes sense in your head. And then you're going to click that. And now inside this folder is where your project is going to live. It's not going to start populating things like inside directly in this folder. It's going to make another folder. But it'll live here. And then, of course, your name of the project. So this is your own project, but like name it something that's easy for you to understand or like remember or make sense in your head. So like this is a tutorial. This is UE4. So I'm going to, you know, give it the creative name of UE4 Tut. And then I'm going to create the project. And then it's going to think for a little bit, and then it's going to load it up. I wonder, can I extend this? Ooh, an extension. Okay.
Can we go back to the other one?
Go back to what?
Like the norm, like the one where it duplicates things. I was using that to see.
Oh, wait, it broke things? Oh, wait, I see what you mean. Project. Duplicate.
Yeah, that's it, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to, okay. Okay, so is everyone who's following along their thing loading up? All right, sweet. So here we have Unreal Engine in the raw. So there's a lot to take in at first, but it's really not that much different if you come in from Unity. Because, I mean, what do you mean? It's like, if you come in from Unity, it basically is the same layout. You have your window, you have your, this doesn't exist. You have your inspector, which this is called an Unreal Engine World Outliner. And then you have, or maybe it's called like hierarchy or something. And this is called your inspector. We call it details. And I don't remember what this is called in Unity, but this is called content browser here. This is basically where everything in your project lives. Like the Windows Explorer of Unreal Engine. So, like Windows Explorer, you could do stuff like this. You can click this button here, and it shows like everything inside content. In Unity, you would know this as assets, but in Unreal Engine, it's called content. And you could, go move through this like you can, like if you click off on content, that's all the folders here, and you could press your arrow keys and move around like this if you wanted to. I learned this the other day, and then really, really fast stuff like material layers. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't matter. And you could close things with the left arrow, open things with the right arrow. So now so that's your content browser. That's where you're going to be doing a lot of your, file manipulation stuff. So when you first start it can sometimes be saying compiling shaders. It can take sometimes really long or not so long at all. It depends on your computer. And depends on how hungry Unreal Engine is at the moment. On the top here, you got Save Current, which just saves the current level, to a file. You got Source Control, which is currently disabled in Unreal Engine, but we'll talk about that later. You got your modes, which goes into, your landscape stuff. So, like in Unity and on Unreal Engine and some other game engines, you could make your own landscape. And you can do that here as well. This opens up the content browser, which is here. Maybe this opens up another. No, it just opens up this one. The marketplace, which we'll go over later. Some settings, which is just basically your rendering settings and stuff like that. This is also a lot of stuff like lives in here in the edit and then configuration area. And then blueprints, you don't really use this particular tab much unless you go into unless you customize stuff inside that, but I'm not going to go over that today. And unless you go into until you go into the level blueprint, but I'm not going to go into that today either. That's a little bit, that's closer to intermediate. It's not so basic. Cinematics, which is, I don't use cinematics, but you can use cinematics. Build, which is where you would be building your lighting. Because a lot of times if you move something in Unreal Engine, like I'm going to click this cube, and by default there's a pivot point which shows up. Now, let's move this cube. So you're going to click a cube, and you're going to see these 3 arrows coming out. It looks like this in your hand. In Unreal and Unity, Z is up, and I believe in Maya it's Y is up, right, Joyce? Yeah. So, and then X is that way. So that's how we see it. This is reflected on this cube here. So, yeah, okay. Now, where we currently are is in a really awkward position for moving around this cube. So what I'm going to do is press the key F to focus the cube, like that. Now, this is better, but this isn't ideal. So what I'm going to do is press Alt. I believe this is the Option key on the Mac. And I'm going to click and drag on my mouse. Left click. And I'm looking around the cube. Everyone doing that? Or everyone can do that? Alright, there are no no's, so I assume people can do that. And now you could scroll out and in as well. Scroll out, scroll in. Now I'm going to rotate again using pressing Alt and left click, like this. Okay, so we need to move this cube. We're going to grab this green arrow. I'm going to drag it to the right, like this. See? It's moved. Okay. That's how we move. Now what we're going to do is press the E key, like this. And this allows us to rotate the cube. So, like this. It's a lot easier if you have a mouse. Actually, everything is a lot easier if you have a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's how you rotate, that's how you move. Now you might be asking, now how do I make it bigger? Like, this large cube isn't large enough. Well, actually, how do you know if it's not large enough, right? We're in a game engine, but we haven't actually played anything that happens here. What we could do to play is press the play button here. And that puts us in the world. You know, ooh, we can walk around. We have a gun. We can shoot balls. And they have physics, and then they disappear. It's right here. If your laptop is not, I think, if your resolution is... Yeah, then it's like, you click to expand the toolbar and it's right here. Okay. So, okay, we found our first bug. Notice how that cube, like, jumps when we, let's simulate this to see the bug, because we don't cause the bug. It just happens in the game world. So we can simulate. To do that, we press this tick button here, or this arrow down, and we click simulate. And we notice that it just pops out of the ground. Does anyone have any idea why it pops out of the ground? Exactly. Exactly. So it started on the ground, the collision is moving it up. And then a reason why that's doing that is because it has physics. It has gravity. So it's going to try and pop out of wherever it's in. So if we disable physics and look at it again, it doesn't move. You know, and it is 100% inside the floor. So now we're going to go ahead and press R to scale it. And we're going to make it larger. So that's smaller. Larger. Okay. You know, nice and large. There you go. And now, if we look at it, it's pretty large. So, now we realize that it's too large. We want to remove it. What do? We press the delete key, and it's gone. Ooh. So, right. Let's see. Let's take a look at our place actors thing window here. We want to place more cubes. So what we do is we get this cube and we drag it in here. Now, notice how this cube is like in the middle of, like, it's in the floor. The reason why it's in the floor is because of this pivot point here, which is basically the point at which you are doing your transformations inside a 3D model or a 3D object or any sort of object in Unreal Engine. And so if we rotate, it is done relative to that pivot point. All of its transformations are done relative to the pivot point. So it's going to move like that and be spawned in that way. So let's put in a sphere. And the sphere is the same story. Okay. Now, let's go over the world outliner, which is all this stuff. It contains stuff that we just put in and stuff that the level came with, like this wall, which is part of Arena. We can close Arena because it's a folder. And then we have these cubes, and we can close the cubes because we're not dealing with them right now. Lighting, same story. Render, FX, same story. So what do we have left? We have this cube, and we have the sphere. What we can do is move the sphere under the cube, and that attaches it. So the cube is now the parent of the sphere, and the sphere is called a child. So whenever we move this cube, the sphere should follow. And remember how I was talking about the pivot point? This is the pivot point, and whenever we move the sphere, the cube, the sphere follows. It moves relative to the pivot point of where the cube is, of the cube's pivot point. Does this make sense? All right. So, yeah, we can also make our own folder. You know, right-click, create folder. You know, shapes. Put that in there. You're done. We can click this I to make it go away. Now we have no shapes. All right. Now let's go into, let me see what I had down. Yes. Okay, so there are some other things that we have in Unreal Engine that can be useful if you're making levels. These are called perspective and orthographic views. So here we have, for example, the top. And this is the top view of your world. How expected. Now it's by default in wireframe, at least in my computer, but you could turn on lit or unlit or, you know, lighting only and so on. I like to work in a brush wireframe when looking at things in the top or side because I'm mainly working, when I'm working on the different views, I do it when I'm positioning models in. So I get like really close up and like, okay, is this bottle actually on the table or is it floating? Because you don't get that with perspective, because I could be standing above it and like, yeah, it looks on the table, but when I'm actually like this, it's like, no, it's like 3 inches in the air. Yeah. Here's how things look like if you put on like detail lighting. Detail lighting like disables all the textures and only focuses on lighting. So like only focuses on like shadows. It looks really cool. It's like when you have something with actual like textures. So yeah, back to lit. Okay, so in the top thing you could drag select things like you can in other programs. You can do the same somehow. Let me see. I remembered you being able to do it, but maybe it's a Unity thing. Okay. You can somehow do it in perspective, I think. Let's see, another thing. I think that's it for this section. Now we can go on to this part. Okay. Now this is fun. Remember how we had this cube and we stuck it in the ground and it went flying? Now let's do that programmatically. So we're going to make a new folder because we like being organized. So we're going to right click the content browser and we're going to click new folder and we're going to type in blueprints because we're going to make a blueprint. Multiple of them, at least 2. So I press enter and then I press enter again. So now we're going to right click again and click blueprint class. So it's going to ask you to pick a parent class. What you want to pick is actor, which I guess this would be a good time for me to explain how the relationships work in Unreal Engine. So let's use real life as an example. We're all pawns in a way, right? On a chess piece, on a chessboard, right? So, you know, we in a way are possessed by souls, if you believe in that kind of stuff. I myself am ginger, they say. I do not have one. So pawns are basically can be controlled by players. A character is, I guess, something like more of like a person, I guess, because they can walk around, they can move, and they have some more components attached to them that a pawn may not have. Like a pawn is basically a ghost. They are just a camera and they can go wherever. Whereas a character is, you know, confined by the laws of physics. You know, they can't shift in through walls. They can only walk around. Stuff like that. A player controller is like the brain of the character. The game mode base is, it's sort of like, it's the blueprint that controls everything that happens in the game. But by default, we don't have to worry about that. An actor component and scene components are small, like, modular chunks that you can create that can add functionality to other blueprints that you make. Like, let's say you have a box, right? Or a bottle, because I have a bottle here. Now, you want to make this bottle fly for some reason. But you also want to make this thing fly. Why would you want to write the flying out code twice, right? So all you would do is write the flying code separately and just attach it like a Lego piece to the bottle and this thing. And then they can both fly and you have the same code. But we're not going to go into those things today. We're going to go into actors, because that's one of the more simpler blueprint classes, and a lot of things you're going to be making are going to be actors. They can be dynamic, they can be moving, they could be things that move around. Someone last year made a boat that went along, like around in a circle. That's an actor. A button that you press, that's an actor. So now that we have made it, we want to call it BP underscore box, because we are making a box and it is a blueprint. It is very, 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 very important to stay organized when you're making things in game development or in other projects. Unity, Unreal Engine, Godot, Maya, Lumberyard, or whatever. You know, it's important to stay organized because you will make a lot of things and you don't want to lose them because it's 3 a.m., critique is tomorrow, or your final project is due, you know, in a couple hours, and you can't find the damn thing you spent all night working on. You know, it's good to be staying organized. I made these mistakes, you don't have to. Okay? So, we make our box. We load it by pressing enter. It loads the box, which has no box. So, this is a lot to take in. My mind turned off when I first saw this for the first time. I'm like, what do I have to do here? So, this is basically another viewport. This thing here. Kind of like, also it opens up like in a Chrome tab. So you can, like in Chrome, like put it into Unreal, into the other tabs. So it operates very similarly to this viewport. Okay, so we want a box in here. There's a components here which operates very similarly to how this world outliner works. And we're gonna click add component, and we're gonna search. Well, actually, we don't even need to search. We can just click cube because that's all we're looking for. So we click our cube, and we could rename it, but why not? Let's rename it. Let's call it box to keep in with the box theme. Yes.
Why does it initially sphere?
What?
Why does it initially sphere? Is that just like the default?
Good question. That's actually not a sphere. It's a point, exactly. So basically this is like an empty transformation, because an actor doesn't necessarily need to have anything in it physically. It can have like, you can have a point that does like things on a global level, like you can have a point that controls lights, or you can have an actor which contains nothing but controls other actors. That's why there's a point. It looks like a sphere so we can visualize it, but if we put it into the game right now, we see it in editor, but in real life we don't see it because it's just a point, a virtual point that we don't see in the game. Yeah, so we can put in a cube. Cube. Yeah. Okay. And you could press F to focus again. Now, the default scene root is sort of where our pivot point is going to be. So everything, because it's our parent, and the cube is the child of the scene root. So we're going to rotate it because we want the cube to be like, not in the middle, but on top of it. And we're going to put it up a little bit. And this is where our left perspective comes in handy. So we're going to move it up here. And now what we do is we press the compile, because this is still a programming language. Then we're going to press save. You should always compile and save things as much as you can, because you never know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. It could crash. I mean, mine doesn't, but it used to a lot. Or maybe something happens to your computer. So it's always nice to have things saved. Okay, So this is our cube. Now we have a details panel here on the right, and this details panel is very similar to this. It's actually the same thing, but it has a little bit more features. So let's click this random cube here. So it goes over this transform, the static mesh, the materials, the physics, all that stuff. And we see the same thing here. You know, you got your transform and the such. Now, let's turn on the physics for this cube. Simulate physics means simulate gravity. So, if we compile and save that, actually, is everyone with me? What? All right. That is good. Everyone is with me. So, what happens now is, if we pick up this cube and drop it, it has physics. Hooray. Here we have a materials box. This is pretty important if you care about that kind of stuff. So if you're doing art, you know, you put in your own mesh, and now you have a material that you want to put in because you want to make your model look good. So you can search up your material, or you can find it in this list. Usually you'll be searching things up because you'll have a bunch of materials. So let's, like, I don't know, make it orange or yellow. Yellow. So now we have yellow box. You could change out your static cube mesh. Yes.
Can't edit anything in the details anymore.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, so here's what happened in this case. When you press simulate, your game turns on, right? And you cannot edit your blueprints. But so you need to stop simulating, and then you will be able to access your details and do all that sort of stuff. You could, so as I was saying, you could change your static meshes. Like this is a chamfered mesh. Like its edges are a little beveled. But I'm not gonna do that because my computer's. We're gonna be doing something really intensive in a second. Okay. So we have this. Cool. This doesn't do anything. We want it to do some stuff. Now let's make another blueprint. We're going to call this, we're going to make another actor. We're going to call it BP Box Fountain. Do you know why it's called a box fountain? You'll find out. Okay. So here we have our default scene root again. But this time we're not going to have any objects in there. But we still want to have a thing in there, right? We want to know that this default scene root is here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a sprite. Wait, is it a sprite? It's called a billboard. You want to search for a billboard. So billboard, and type that in here. And what this does is if you go into here and you drag this in, we have a billboard. And in not in Unreal Engine terms, that's called a sprite. Why is it called a sprite? Because sprites constantly look at you, no matter which angle you look at them. They always face you. That's how we handled graphics in the early days with like I don't know if any of you have heard of a game called Doom, but you know how in the first Doom, I'm not talking Doom now, I'm talking Doom 93. If you shoot an enemy, or if you look at an enemy, they will always face you, no matter your orientation. So, if you shoot them, their corpse constantly looks at you. So if you look away, they adjust and look at you right in the eyes. You know? So that's why it does that, because of this thing called a sprite or a billboard. If you want, you could change the image. I believe these takes PNGs. I can double check. Or not. Up. There we go. A bunch of incognito tab. Are you done? Okay. So like UE4 sprite textures PNG. Okay, it's PNGs. Okay, so if you have a PNG on your computer, I might, or I can make one. I don't know, do I have a picture of our mascot? That attack. Saved. Screenshots, Windows. Okay. So let's make a new folder called assets. And let's put in this ketchup bottle. Or maybe Joyce's ice cream. See which one looks better. So, to save everything, you can, instead of pressing Control S, you can press Control Shift S. I believe on the Mac it's Command Shift S. It saves everything you've ever worked on in the scene currently that's open, or closed, or imported, or exported, or whatever. It saves everything. Do that a lot, because you never know what could happen. So, I'm going to rename this to ketchup. It is a texture, I don't know, T to ketchup. T ice cream. Okay, so now what we could do is, T I scream. Look at that. So we can lower the screen size, I think. Or maybe not. Oh, that's if it's screen scaled, so I think. Nope. I think you could just scale this. Yeah, you could scale this like normal. And then you could move it up. So this is how it looks like in Editor. Okay, understood? All right. Let's move on. Now I just clicked something called an event graph. You see 3 things. Event begin play, event active begin overlap, and event tick. Do any of you know why these are called what they're called? Or can tell me why they think they're called what they're called? Okay. Event begin play is called because it is an event that happens when we first play the game. Event active begin overlap is basically useless. You can delete it. An event tick is an event that happens every single tick. So what is a tick? It's like something that runs every single frame. Now, yeah. So now we can compile and save and then drag out from this arrow here, you want to left click and drag. And now you have a thing, a curve or whatever. You want to let go. Now you want to type in something. These are basically all the functions you can access from this starting area. Think of this as like your main function, like in Python or in C. It's like where you start writing your code. So we want to create a box, right? So we type in create spawn actor from class. Now it's pretty smart. Like sometimes like you can realize what you're typing, like create. Like, oh, do you mean spawn actor from class? So, then you press enter. And then, you change your collision handling override, to try to adjust location but always spawn. And then we're done. But we're not. We're not done because it's upset. Spawn actor none, this guy, must have a class specified. So what do we need to specify? We need to specify the box that we just made. So BP box. Now we compile and it's still upset. It's upset because, can anyone tell me why it's upset? Does anyone know why it's upset? It's upset because it has no way to spawn in. It basically, the way this works in the back end is like, okay, I have this box thing, but I don't know but I need to spawn it into a certain area. But how do I spawn it in? No, but where do I spawn it in? And we don't tell it where to spawn it, we just tell it to spawn. And it's like, where? And we're like, I don't know. So we want it to spawn in where the default scene root is. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this default scene root out into the event graph and let go. This is a variable. Lo and behold. And we could drag out from this blue thing like we have earlier. This variable type is called a reference because it is a reference of this default scene root. And you let go, and then you type in get location, world location, because we want to know where this thing is, right? And we want to drag out from here, make transform. Because a transform is composed of 3 variables called location, rotation, and scale. So you put in get world location. And now you could do again, drag from this default scene root and type in get world rotation. And you put that in there. Now you don't have to put in a scale because we want things to be to scale. Like we don't want to mess with our BP box because if we tell it to like spawn in at whatever scale and rotation and location, it will do that. But we want our boxes to be fine. Okay, so now we have a collision handling override. What we want this to do, we want this to be a try to adjust location but always spawn. You will see soon. Okay, so now when we press simulate, it spawns in a cube. Hooray. Now, what happens, my fellow students, when we put this logic and move it from the event begin play to the event tick? Yes. That's what happens. It's snowing. Yeah. And this is the part where I teach you about frame rate. So you're going to press the tilde key. It's below your escape key. And you're going to type in stat FPS. Now notice how my FPS is going down by the second. The reason why is because we're drawing all of this crap that has physics on it. So now my computer's GPU and CPU have to think really, really hard about everything that's happening here. And it's going to really start sucking really quick. Like it's already starting to suck.
Oh, thank God I didn't put on a laptop.
What? Stat FPS. Okay. Now, I'm going to teach you guys about source control because this could potentially crash in real, but like, it's only if don't get your FPS to 0 basically, because then it's game over. So, yeah. So, okay. Okay, source control. So source control, we can start it up here. So we connect to source control. Now, our provider is Git. It says beta version, but it's been in beta version for the past 5 years. So, I don't know. I think it's pretty stable. It hasn't been any problems for me. This might not work for you if you're on a Mac. I've been getting mixed responses in the past if it's been working for them, but try it anyways. Now sometimes it automatically figures out, usually it automatically figures out where your Git lives, like where you installed the actual Git. So then you're gonna just, if it hasn't, you're gonna find your directory and you're gonna install it there. So then you're gonna create a git ignore file, which basically makes a special like Unreal Engine git ignore, and a README which you could write up. That'll go onto GitHub. Unreal Engine for tutorial for 98.166 made with love. So and then you make your initial commit to your local area. Do not, for the love of God, take this box, because Git LFS will cripple your project. Because what Git LFS does is it allows you to push objects greater than 100 megabytes onto the cloud. But that's not the problem. The problem is that there's a 1 gigabyte limit, and no one really tells you it until you run into it. And then your project is screwed. You'll have to figure out a way to disable it. Me and Joyce ran into this problem on Blade, and that cost me 5 hours of my time at least. So don't do it. Don't run into it. Don't even look at it. Plus, Git LFS is a paid service, and we don't want to pay more money than we have to. So we click Initialize Project with Git, and it should work. So then we accept the settings. Now, this changed color from like a no signal to like, up or down. So that's up stands for push, down stands for pull. So, and as we can't really, so we can submit to source control, and it checks to see if we can submit anything to source control. It saves everything. And it's like you have all this stuff that you haven't submitted. So then you're going to submit, I don't know, like first commit, first serious commit. In reality, you're going to put something more useful in here. So then you're going to submit. It's going to think for a little bit. I'm going to drink some water. And then it's gonna go into GitHub. we're going to go into GitHub, and then we're going to find this project. So we're going to go to File, Add Local Repository. We're going to locate where that repository is. So as it's in my work folder, it's right here. Do not go any deeper than your base hierarchy in your project folder, because then I won't be able to find it. Basically, stop when you see this .git. Oh wait, you won't be able to see the .git folder. So, if you're on Windows, there's a different way to do this on Mac. But in the File Explorer, you click View, and you basically click like you want to see the hidden extensions. .git is a hidden it's a hidden item, and you know, and you won't see it if you don't have this enabled. I like to have file name extensions also running there, because like it's kind of useful to know what you're looking at, especially like if you're working with images. Like, is it a JPEG? Is it a PNG? Is it a Photoshop file? You know, stuff like that. Kind of useful. So anyways, you go into here, you click Select Folder, then you click Add Repository. And then it thinks for a second. It's like, oh, you have all this stuff. Cool. Would you like me to publish this onto GitHub? Sure. Let's publish this repository. I'm going to keep this code private. I want you in the future to make your own projects and then send us the link to the repository on GitHub. So just in case, so like when you're testing things out, like if anything happens, you can give us the repository and we can look into it. We can maybe help you. You don't have any organizations, or if you do, like, you're not part, why would you do this? Why would you add them to this? You know, and then you publish this repository. And then it thinks for a little bit. You know, pushes everything you got online, and it'll take a couple seconds. Yeah. Okay, so now we publish branch. The first time will take a little while, but after that it won't take as long.
How long does it take to launch it on your engine? Like my computer dies or?
First time could be a while.
Oh, it could be a while.
Yeah, is it stuck on 45%?
No, 18%.
Oh. It speeds up over time. It takes a little while at first, but.
Say that Xcode is already largely developed. Like for like 1 hour, and I still have to wait the Unreal Engine to publish. So will all the like instructions of like the previous steps on the recording?
Yeah, this is all recorded. Why is it failing to push? Something. Okay, I guess it works. So now if we go onto GitHub, and if I look up this repository, I don't even know what it's called, UE4TUT. It's here. It's on my GitHub. Hooray. Okay, so next. Okay. So some of us are artists here, so we care about this. So we're going to be making a lot of assets and 3D models and this while here. So we want to know how to import them into the engine ourselves. So let's see. I have some 3D models on this computer. Actually, what's going to be interesting to import? Okay, so I'm going to import something from Brooklyn Bridge. Assets. Cars. Let's see. Do we have cars on this? Cars. Car 2. Car final. Car optimized. Let's go for car 1. So what I'm doing is dragging it in from the folder and into Unreal. And we click, we don't look at this, we don't tick skeletal mesh, and we generate missing collision because we're not making our own collisions here. That is beyond the scope of this class and my knowledge. We don't touch any of this for now, but if our object, sometimes when we're modeling in Maya, we don't model to scale with Unreal Engine, but that's a issue for later. Joyce can go over that. So now we import it. This has problems with the models because I couldn't model very well when I made this model 3-4 years ago. So now we save. It thinks for a little bit. Okay. So now we have a car. Car. You know, that's our static mesh that we have imported. Now, if I go, can I jump onto this car? Okay. See how I can't even walk onto this car when I should be able to because this cube is here? The reason why is because of the collisions that this car has. So if we double click this car thing, you're going to see a bunch of weird and complicated stuff. Don't worry about it. I don't know what most of this stuff does. What I do know though is that I want this car to block everything in this collision preset, and I don't want its collision complexity to be project default. Let me show you what project default looks like. Collision, simple collision. It's that. That's the reason why we can't walk on the car. Now let's do complex collision. That's a lot better, right? It's also a lot more performance intensive, but we don't care about that. It's negligible at the moment. So what we do is we tell it to use complex collision as simple. And now we can walk on our car. But we can jump though, so we can walk on top of our car. Okay. I'm not going to go over skeletal meshes because Joyce will do a lot about that in a couple weeks. So instead, I will delete this car. And let's see what I have next left on the agenda. Okay, yes. So now I'm going to expose you to the wonders of the Unreal Asset Store. The Epic Games launcher gets opened. Oh, does anyone have any questions about anything at all? Yes.
So at the very beginning, when you just added this box in, right? You didn't go through the process of like opening a blueprint, making it active, everything, right?
Yeah, I didn't need to because it's like a hotkey of like a mesh.
So is that box not an active? Like what's the difference between that box and the one you made later?
It is an actor. It's just not one that we can customize. Like, look, on the side of your world outliner, it tells you what everything is. So, like, this is a player start. Everything that you can, like, that is highlighted, as like a URL link, it can be clicked on because you've made it. But this stuff is stuff that's been made, like, in C++ or compiled with the engine or built-in stuff. Everything you see is an actor. Just not necessarily something that you can work in.
So that's just like a preset.
Exactly. Okay. So what did I say? Yes. Epic Games Launcher. Epic Games has a pretty big marketplace for Unreal Engine. It's so big it takes a while to load. Okay. So, a lot of cool stuff on here. Some of it you might want to buy, some of it you don't care for. But, I don't know. There's also some stuff that Epic does that's free for the month. So, every month, it's different assets of varying quality, usually good quality assets, which you can buy. They're 3D models, or sometimes they're sound, or sometimes they're like a bunch of code, which you can put in your game and make it do stuff. So, like, currently it's these things. Wait, this is actually pretty cool. That's cool, isn't it, Joyce? Yeah. So we can click add to cart. You know, and buy it all. And yeah. Yeah.
Are they only free for this month? Or
They're free for this month only. And while this is technically illegal, there's nothing to stop you from it. You could take whatever assets you get here and put it into Unity. You know, I do it sometimes, but I'm not selling games of these assets. If you're selling games of an asset with these assets, that's a problem. But like, we're all students here, right? So like, it's fine. My shoe's untied. So it is a viable strat. So, you know, you can check these out. And then what you could do, I'm not going to check these out. I don't know what's in my cart. But you can go to your library, because everything you check out and purchase plugins-wise lives on the bottom in your vault. So, like, there's this animated pond fish that I have. I don't know from where, but I have it. So I'm going to add it to this project. So I could search. So I don't know, UE4 tut. So I'm going to add to project. I was going to think for a little bit, and I was going to download it. Okay, so here's our pond fish. I think the pond fish was free a while ago. Okay, there's a bunch of shaders that need to be compiled. But looks like a pond fish to me. I think it's just some models that I bought. Got for free. There, see, it's slowly kicking in. It's kind of cute. Okay, so I think next on the agenda is to make your own cool level. So you're going to find someone who has Unreal Engine and is working. And I guess multiple people can pair up with one person, or around someone with an Unreal Engine installed. And I want you to make your own box fountain, and like make something like that like makes this is your box fountain, starts there, and like the models go in through here onto the bottom. Looks like this. So before you guys leave for tonight, I would like you to make this exercise. Like, you got 15 minutes, go ahead and make it happen. I'm going to leave out the code for the box fountain. This is how it works. So go ahead and do it. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, finally. Yeah. I will. What? Oh, pretty important. So, okay, so go to file. New level.
Go in the box. Well, you gotta add a code. Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
I'm gonna make it. Yeah.
We don't need, I mean, basically what we, you're
Okay,
gonna do
let's
is
click
art
on a
stuff,
box.
and then it's gonna go into art stuff and Unreal.
Yeah, but I literally, like, I can't get,
You
my Mac version won't download and load it, so I can't get it.
Classic color, okay, I don't know, I think we should choose much. I think we should be fine, like, yeah, like,
I think we should just make a new object. So empty actor or whatever.
so we're gonna try and get these computers to get Unreal.
Yeah, you can move it. I think it's all.
So there's hospital hours in charge of this, so maybe it should be easier.
No, I think we can't remember that. Like E? That's like rotating.
Yeah, that's what Joyce is gonna teach next week.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Now it's
That's what I've been doing.
I don't think you know what I'm going to teach next week.
What?
so
What are you guaranteeing that
Oh,
I'll
whoa.
teach next week?
Then you're gonna make models.
Oh, yeah.
What?
That's true.
What? Oh, okay. So your older shooters, you can file it. Sorry.
Maybe put the camera too high.
Oh!
And he's using the trackpad.
Press
so
back
it's
to
acting
focus.
Oh, dang.
So yeah.
What is E?
E is rotate. Yeah, you kind of can see it barely. So if you like up to it, it's there. But I guess you can barely see it because of it's small. You can make it larger in the settings. I don't remember how.
What is make?
The pivot. Just you make the pivot larger. I don't remember how. It's been a while. You can look it up. I think it's like some control.
So how can I get high?
Like up or down?
Yeah.
I think. E, Q goes left or right. Oh, A, D. Arrows.
Arrows is like. Is it shift arrows?
Or page up. Oh, you don't have.
I don't have.
It definitely exists. You have to look that up.
Oh, you're using the scroll wheel earlier to go up. Okay. No, it's kind of angle.
Yeah.
What?
You've been doing a lot of work.
Press E.
Yeah.
What?
Actually, I don't remember.
What's
Because I
the
know
box?
I found it for a while.
It's,
You can
you
build
know,
it
like, what I said as an example was like a sprite, like a billboard.
Yeah, I actually don't know it.
Oh, no, you, click this. Yeah, I just want to type in billboard. It is a sprite, they're calling it a billboard.
On it, and I forgot everything.
Yeah, you think
Yeah, I don't know.
of
It should be.
search it up, you can type it in.
Yeah.
Oh, you can find it where you put it. Oh, here's what you could do. If you minimize it, where's your image? Okay, so put this, now open up your Bluetooth again.
Click on the box. Click on the box.
And your resolution.
Oh, okay. Well, that puts in the whole stage.
So you click,
There,
see the arrow?
there's the alt one to like kind of just like put it around.
Yeah. No, this is my sketch.
Yeah, now you got it. Thank you. You're welcome. Hello.
we've gotten the box now.
So what should we do now?
Okay, so we're gonna make a new object.
Where can we
It's like that one. There.
empty cube?
No, because I don't think you can edit the key. I think you have to do that. Oh, you don't need mod. Wait, Matthew. Matthew? How do we undo like rotation mode? How do we get to like movement mode?
W.
W?
W, E, and R is the controls of transform.
Ah, nice, gotcha.
So is this the circle?
Yeah, it's the circle. It's like a point. It's not filled in yet. So
Oh
then
yeah.
we're gonna want to give it a no.
Will I turn it off?
Well, I just don't like it.
No, because it doesn't have like a thing on it right now. I can't remember. You're gonna add components?
Oh yeah.
It already is an actor. So like, scroll down one second.
No, like you know how it's going, you could like,
Scroll back up to add components.
it operates the same way.
And do pictures.
Well, this box is a static measure, so it's not something that you make. So you need to make your own blueprint with a box in it. And then you put that in. Put that in. Yeah.
So I still got like 30 minutes to launch Unreal Engine for a second.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Make another one.
No response. Yeah, I got it. Wait.
Yeah. You want to know physically, so you go down.
There's no way. You don't have to. Especially if it's CFA and CFA, like two different CFAs. That is like the worst combo ever.
Now you type in the blueprint of the place.
But if it's within the same
Oh, I see, okay.
that's so interesting.
So the blueprint is just
It's like, what? No! That's so
Yeah,
weird.
basically an object with like with things in it. Like measuring or
I don't think our old guy built like this. Wait, what's box down here? Oh no, that's them. But like it's like you make an actor.
you got it? Oh, okay. Because there is
So good. I think it's trying to add this one to the floor. So just like drag it in.
So do I like create a?
I see. Alright, one second. Let me send you the invite. I'm gonna go over the schedule.
Oh,
Do the actor mode.
We'll go a little more detail. My brain cannot like.
Yeah. And then see now we have the settings on the right side. So then roll up and down a little. And we don't see it, don't have to add something to it.
Some metal stuff.
are you guys going to be on the So,
Let's go.
you see how everybody has
So then, like, let's see if we can see more of this. Alright, see how my flag is now. Take this, because this one is not blocking it. This is I want to have like the
Oh yeah, it's kind of.
But other classes, we'll be like,
already has
No,
the
no,
access.
no,
So wait, maybe
Okay, so look, it actually starts.
Yes.
And you're stuck inside. Now,
Wait, let's put the cube back in 0, 0, 0.
let's go back into the box.
You can set the green one to 0.
See how you set the original one?
Yeah, set it to 0.
By default, if it's falling on the side, it's not gonna do anything. So,
There you go. Now it's back.
Oh yeah.
no. Which one?
And then let's add the blueprint. No, I think it's blueprint.
Let's see.
Oh, why not? Let's keep it.
I mean, you should open.
No. I mean, yeah, did you get the regular Xcode?
No, not Xcode. It's like, it's like
Oh, that sucks.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
For your macro, it's on fire, dude.
Oh yeah, I saw that. So it's
Nah, don't
I'm gonna
go.
talk to whoever's charging the
Alright,
slide.
never mind. He's already done.
Yeah.
You know what they say, man. Third time's the charm.
Hello. How are you doing?
Where am I?
Oh, okay. You accidentally focused on the
Which
slide.
one you want?
Honestly, doesn't matter.
So, just like, pick one of those places.
So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know how that is.
Oh, we still got the guy.
because I have
Yeah.
to save them.
Oh, yeah. Although he didn't save the cube, that's fine.
Nice.
We should remember how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be like here.
Oh, look, that's cool.
No. It was, you click on the acrogram, and you click acrogram.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, good job.
Green, add component.
Basically, hello.
Hi.
Before you guys go, because there's only a couple minutes left of class, I'm going to post into the Discord a tutorial playlist, and I want you guys to open. Okay, fine, I'll open Discord. So I'm opening up Discord. Okay, Discord is now open. So, Joyce just texted this out. Thank you, Joyce. So, these are basically programming tutorial playlists that I compiled. And they contain stuff that I think is pretty useful. Just complete one of those tutorials and post a picture, take a picture of it and put it into the showcase if you can. If you can't do it, Discord me or Joyce.
Alternatively, there's the kind of like the art tutorial playlist, which exists in the form of a Google Doc that covers very simple topics. It's better if you view them as separate pages. But most of these tutorials are around 10 minutes, and it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to follow through with it. So if you're interested, look over them. You can also complete one of these if you're not interested in programming ones.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone want to show off their box fountain that they made? Would you like to? All right. You got HDMI? Okay. Lo and behold.
Oh, box.
Oh, you can press F11 to full screen. Okay. I think you pressed the you press the sleep button. Just press F11.
Yeah.
There we go.
This works?
Yeah.
How does it stand here on the one side?
There's like, you see this like pane thing? I made a pane. I made it to picture class and I rotated it and turned it off. Physics. Yeah, so this is just a new object. I only actually made one object. Everything else is just rotated.
That's smart.
I deleted most of the old boxes and just...
Thank you. Does anyone else want to show off what they did? Silence means no. Okay. What? That's okay. Well, alright. You guys are free to go. Have a good night. Don't forget to do the homework. Yeah, Joyce posted some ones for art. If you want to look into art programming tutorials. And then there are some others that are just regular like programming stuff that I think is pretty important. Yeah, so choose one or two or whatever, however many you want to use, at least one. And like take a picture and show it to them.
Okay.
And that's your homework.
So is this recording and it will be uploaded
Yes.
sometime? The recording will be on the Discord too?
Yeah, let me